Christmas story is so well known. And yet, when we retell it year by year, it's actually full of inaccuracies. How many school and Sunday school nativity things have you been to over the years? I used to be a primary school teacher. I'm being waved at. Okay, I saw the green light on and thought that was on. Apologies. I used to be a primary school teacher, and I was the beginning of December really. In fact, when you came back after the October holiday, you started thinking about Christmas. But beginning of December, rehearsals started in earnest. And there was always quite a bit of competition as to who was going to be Mary, who was going to be Joseph. You know, these are key roles. Nobody wanted to be the innkeeper because he just said no room. And then who were going to be the kings? And who was going to have the best present to carry in, the one that was wrapped and looked the nicest? Well, it's all changed, hasn't it now? Schools do a variety of things now. It's not a traditional story that we always hear. We have the grumpy angel and all these other things going on. And in churches, of course, we don't have the children that we used to have. A few years ago, just before I left Oban, we had an all-age nativity service. And 3 of the male elders were commandeered into being what we called the 3 not-so-wise men. But it meant that we could tell the story in that traditional way. So you have Mary, you have Joseph, you have the shepherds, you have the angels, and the little girls running around, and the stable with the manger and the ox and the ass, and of course the 3 wise men, or the magi. Well, there's a lot to think about when it comes to the magi. We have a nativity set at home, and we set it out like everybody else does, and we have the 3 kings sitting on the side there. But I often think actually they should start off in another room, because they weren't there. They travelled, and I think maybe they should start in one room and slowly get closer and closer and closer as the time passes. But we don't. We sit it there because we created this thing around Christmas, haven't we? The truth is, it's too easy to turn the story of the birth of Christ into something that's a bit too comfortable, a bit more like a fairy tale than something that happened at that moment in history. A pretty scene, if you like. It's too easy to be sentimental about it. And the arrival of the Magi can even make it feel quite magical. These mysterious strangers arriving with their gifts after seeing the stars shining in the sky. As we know, Matthew's Gospel is the only one to include the journey of the Magi. What the Bible does not tell us, what Matthew does not tell us, is that they were present on the night of the birth. Or even that there were 3 of them. And it certainly doesn't tell us what their names were. But what does Matthew tell us? Well, they were probably astrologers. They did tell Herod that they were looking for the new king of the Jews. And they did bring gifts that they wanted to pay homage to this child. They were learning men. They were educated. They had studied the stars, searching for many years for prophecies and omens. They were men from a different place, a different culture, and a different belief system. And yet they knew that the star was something that they had been looking for. St. Augustine wrote this: Christ was not born because the star shone forth, but it shone forth because Christ was born. Christ was not born because the star was shining. It shone because Christ was born. How typical in our particular faith tradition that those who saw it and recognised it, saw how significant it was, were not from the nation of Israel. They were not Jewish leaders. They were foreigners, strangers, outsiders. And how much easier it would have been for them just to stay at home. Stay where everything was safe and secure and where they had good reputations. I'm going to read a short reflection to you, written by Ian Cowie, and it's taken from the book Hay and Sawdust. And it's the imagined thoughts of one of those magi. It's called The Wise Man. Now for the search. We've played around for long enough with all our theories. We've pored over manuscripts and studied ancient mysteries. The time has come to venture all. Leave behind the books and arguments, the quiet days in shady cloisters, and all the cleverness we have mutually admired. Hardest of all, we must say goodbye to our reputations as wise men. We must now face the road, wherever it may lead. A blazing star, royal sign of Judah in the heavens, crystallizes all our thinking. We must be fools to follow. We will seek the face of God, reach out for the ultimate mystery down the dusty road ahead. Will fiery serpents bar our way? Will there be cunning riddles to answer? Will our path lead into the heart of fire? Will it shrivel us to dust when we finally see the face? No more questions. Saddle the camels. The light from the star showed them the way to the Christ child. And the light of Christ continues to show us the way today. And just like the wise men, we have decisions to make. When will we put away our arguments and our excuses? When will we leave the security of what we know and step out into the unknown? When will we stop worrying about what other people might think of us if we take that step? When will we step out onto that road, wherever it may lead? When do we do the modern equivalent of saying, no more questions, no more excuses, saddle the camels? The infant Christ was born into a deeply troubled and broken world. But it was love that brought him here. It was love that he demonstrated throughout his life. It was love that took him to his arrest, his condemnation, and his death. And it was love that brought him back victorious from the grave. A love that spans earth and heaven. The light of his love has shone for us all to see. And now it is time for us to let that love shine deep within our hearts, and also to let that light shine from us out to the world. Perhaps some of us are sitting here this morning thinking, that could never be me. I could never do that. I'm not good enough. I'm too broken. There are all sorts of feelings we may have. But let me tell you, it's not so. There is a Japanese art form called kintsugi, where craftsmen take broken pots and they put them back together. And in the cracks, they use a special gold or silver or platinum resin mixed with the glue. And when the pot is put back together, it looks absolutely beautiful because the light shines through those golden or silver or platinum cracks, making it look more beautiful than it was in the first place. And it's beautiful because it was broken and the light shines through. Well, that is how Christ works in our lives. We may feel we're not good enough. We may feel that we're broken in some way or other. But the light of Christ's love heals that. He makes us whole, and his love shines through our brokenness and our hurt. And that light can shine in so many ways. A quiet word, a friendly smile, a kind deed, a timely prayer, a gift of time or money if we have it, even a thank you. So simple, and yet it might change someone's day. I don't suppose many of us here would ever be called to do what the Magi did and leave everything behind, or as the disciples did when they met Jesus. But when that light has touched our lives, it is transforming. It's transforming for us and for others. And ultimately, it's transforming for this broken and hurting world. An anecdote I want to share with you, and it's not about light, it's about laughter. Many years ago, when I was a teenager, our church used to go away for weekends, church weekends, down at Western Super Mud, we used to call it. And we would have a theme, and then on the Saturday evening there was always a social. And one year, my dad, who was a very quiet man, decided to read something from, I can't even remember what the book was, and it was funny. But he knew it was funny. And just before it got to the funny bit, he started chuckling. And he couldn't get out what it was he was going to say. And he laughed, and he tried to dry his tears, and he tried to say it, but he kept laughing. And do you know what happened? Everybody else joined in. Because it's infectious, isn't it? When somebody starts laughing, I can see you all smiling now just at the thought of somebody else doing that. It's infectious. Now that's what the light of the love of Christ is like too. It's infectious. It should spread out and touch so many other people and draw them in. There's a track from a worship group that I like listening to, the Newsboys, and they sing a song called Go Glow, which is about that light of Christ. And in the second verse it says this: they, that's the world out there, they can see it shining all over your face. Oh, just believe it. It's the power of God's grace. Let that fire burn infectious. You are God's reflection, and they can see it shining all over your face. Let's go back to those words from Isaiah to close our thoughts. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. See, darkness covers the earth, and thick darkness is over the peoples. But the Lord rises upon you, and his glory appears over you. Thanks be to God. Amen.